Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Hold on a second. Let me find the music here. There we go. All right. Oh, man. Are you getting the sounding really weird? It might just be on my side. I'm going to have to look into that. Let's come over here. Okay, first thing is one of my lights is not working. What's with that? I think kids screwed some things up. Light is plugged in. There we go. Just had to reset that one. All right, next set of problems. Some of my DOMs got moved to the other screen. Probably just because we restart. That's an easy fix. Oh my gosh, the sound is terrible. There we go. I guess I might need to get a new audio interface soon, because I think that the kids have just like pulled it down too many times, and like the connection on the back was I just fiddled with the connection on the back a little bit and it fixed that problem. Okay. Next thing, before I go through all of the details, let's just go and grab our volatility number. Pop over here and start a terminal 2. Okay, 10-year note. $4.57. Curious. I thought that I would come in and it would be back above 5, but it's not. But maybe when the FOMC happens and then we go and look at that number again, it'll be higher. But I think that would give us a good guide for at least our session. So I guess it's okay. I'll make sure that it did right. Okay, make sure it was saved. Let's come in here and refresh that. Oh, I didn't, gonna error out there because I Didn't change the date. Okay. So by the way, yesterday, kind of interesting. We came in here and we thought, well, it's right here. It seems like we're getting some support, so let's take it. And then it actually came down and went a little bit farther to the regular session spot, and then it bounced. But it bounced really well. So like if we had held on to that, we could have worked out. But I'm kind of thinking that if we have had a relatively decent move in the overnight, that maybe that regular session target actually does matter more. It mattered more in that situation. So might be hard, because then you might come in and say, oh, I'm going to wait for it to get down to this one, and then it bounces here. Then you miss it. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to see if I can get a feel for, or if I can do some research to see if there's like a, you know, what percentage of the time does it get down to the extended session one, but not the regular session one. All right, let's come to the charts. Here we got ZN. So we're pretty close to where we were yesterday, but we have had a little bit of a down move here just before the open. So, well, let's say during the London session. S&P 500 just continues going up. It is getting dizzying, and we are now in like gamma chasing territory. And I think that one of the drivers here is that they are expecting the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates and make money policy easier, and that is really boosting asset prices. I do think at some point there's going to have to be some shift, because there is too much concentration in single names. I think that those names are going to have to take a haircut, and other things are going to have to come up in order for this rally to continue, even if we're getting low interest rates. But for the short term, you know, that might be something that doesn't happen until like early next year. I think in the short term, at least for the next month, this is probably going to be a gamma chase higher, where they have to chase the prices up. Now, you never know what the Federal Reserve meeting is going to be today. So maybe he says something that kind of cuts them back down. Here's oil. Oil taking a little pullback here. We are anticipating some more output hikes. Gold's maybe stemming the bleeding here a little bit. I mean, a lot of these people talking about, well, inflation is still too high, but they're going to cut interest rates. Like that's an environment where I think you buy gold. Because what killed gold before was, well, we were getting inflation, but we were getting higher interest rates. But if you get a situation where people think that rates will be low and inflation will be higher than it should be, they're going to buy gold. So that's maybe a good turning point there. We'll see if that holds. Copper is starting. Oh, sorry, that's silver. Copper is. I'm kind of looking to see if copper comes back into alignment with the other metals, but you know, maybe it's up a little bit today, but I'm still not really seeing strong correlation. Then we got the Japanese yen, which is, I think, kind of more stabilized. I was kind of hoping that this rally in the Japanese yen would continue, but it's not. This is kind of holding this range so far. And the dollar, too, coming up. And we got Bitcoin. They had that rally over the weekend and everything, but yesterday they took a hit. So, all right. I mean, no. I don't think that that's anybody that's listening that fits in this camp. But if you want to send me a message on Discord, just send a message. Don't send a friend request. I cannot go and add every person that requests to be a friend. and my private messages are open. You might have to open yours as well to message me, but you can message me without being friends on Discord. Okay. So what do we got going on here today? We got a Federal Reserve meeting, which is gonna, so Bank of Canada is doing theirs as well. So that's important to keep in mind because we do tend to see a little bit of market action when that happens. So Canadian bank decision, Federal Reserve decision, and then we got Hurricane Melissa making landfall in Jamaica and just absolutely blasting Jamaica. Like, man, the pictures of the devastation there are pretty that place got trashed. So there's going to be big insurance payments over there. There's definitely going to be some. I don't think it's enough to like hold back the rally or anything, but that is like one flow that, especially today, I think we're going to have to consider. Yeah. And then I don't think there's really, well, actually we do maybe have to consider seasonalities here as well. Which I would guess would be, well, I don't know how it would change the balance between equities and treasuries, but probably is going to be like a net sell equities winners and rebalancing. So what you might see is them kind of hold off on that for the Federal Reserve meeting. And then maybe after the Federal Reserve meetings, you know, depending on what he says, some might decide to start doing it then. Otherwise, tomorrow and Friday, we'll probably see pretty heavy rebalancing. That's my guess. Actually, let's come over here and see if there's any zero hedge stories.
Block sell.
Interesting. So there was a relatively large bid at 13.5 in ZN. I was noticing, and they just took it out. Somebody came through with a 3K, and then the rest of it traded, and they ticked down. So that's a pretty strong downtick. Now, it's not being followed up by big offers, but still, that was a very, very curious downtick, especially relatively early in the session. Kind of means we need to be on the lookout for something. That was unusual for them to trade a big order like that early on in the session where it seems like things are relatively quiet. And we often do see like trends and curious moves on Federal Reserve Day, almost as though they know what the Fed decision is going to be. Wow, Nvidia above 5 trillion. I remember when it was like Apple became the first $1 trillion market cap company. You remember that? 5 trillion is insane. China buys American soybeans before Trump-Xi meeting. So I think that's another thing that's really pushing this market, though, is any time that there are rumors or stories about that, we do see a reaction, especially the S&P 500 buying up. And I don't know how much of the issues in the labor market are because of China. Hard to say. I personally, I think that the issue in the labor market is we would be having this even if tariffs weren't a thing. Like if in some alternate reality, Joe Biden is still president, right? And the only reason why I say that is because, well, you know, who knows what Kamala would do and how people would react to Kamala's policies and things like that, right? So let's just say Joe Biden was still president and we were still getting basically all the same policies that we had before Donald Trump got elected, including the same economic policies and so forth. I think that we would still be having this problem in the labor market. I mean, this problem started during Joe Biden's term. And I have always felt that it is primarily a factor of interest rates being too high. Ergo, we would still be having the issue. But still, it's kind of hard to disentangle those. How much is tariffs having an impact? It's just like, the industries that are hurting are tech. And so I don't really think that tariffs are going to affect that. Right? I kind of wonder, actually, is it the case that, like, all of the growth is happening in the tech sector? It's happening in industries that require a significant amount of investment to generate returns, essentially, which generally means that there will be a lot of borrowing. That the lower interest rates are, the more money is available, the more that they can make those kinds of investments. So is it the case that maybe our economy, or rather the growth of our economy, is more sensitive to interest rates than it has been historically? And ergo, an increase in interest rates hurt the economy more than we realize? And then you would get this kind of bifurcated market, right? Where there's some parts of the market that are just fine with the high interest rates, and then there's other parts of the markets that are just absolutely devastated. And you can't just allow that situation to hang around forever, because eventually you are hollowing out the middle class, because that's like the only middle class left was tech white collar workers, right? You're gonna have a recession. So it's like the low interest rates are necessary in order to keep growing, even though there is a risk that it leads to inflation in other areas. What an interesting conundrum. But I would still hold that if that is the case, then actually the correct policy here would be, well, first of all, I do think we need to bring interest rates to neutral, at least. Okay, like we can have interest rates neutral and not necessarily have runaway inflation. I think a lot of people that I see out there on the internet like way over extrapolate like how much inflation there actually is out there, in part because they have a bias against Donald Trump, and in part because they don't necessarily understand how this data is generated and how lagged, like housing in particular is like 9 months lagged the number that we get in CPI. So, and that's like one of the largest components. So if the cost of housing is still showing up in that CPI number, then of course it's going to look like there's inflation, even if we know that actually it's coming down, and in 9 months that will be reflected, which I think is generally true right now. But let's just say I think we can get to neutral interest rates, right? And then if neutral interest rates aren't enough for those sectors, you're concerned that you have easy monetary policy that will lead to inflation in other areas. That's really a case where Congress needs to step in, right? Congress needs to step in and provide fiscal stimulus to specific industries. I'm not necessarily saying that's like the ideal system. I don't think that the government is very good at making those kinds of calls or making investment. But like that's what we've got to work with right now, right? That's the way that our system works with right now. So that's probably what needs to happen. All of that off of China buys American soybeans. It does seem like maybe China is more willing to make a deal. But I also think that that's because China thinks that the U.S. is just going to take like a crackdown on fentanyl, and that's the end of it. Well, they probably won't completely get rid of the tariffs on China, though. It just won't be like 80% or whatever crazy number it is right now. And China does need it taken off. Like it is really hurting the Chinese economy. Okay, here's a story about food stamps. I think we need to wait a week on food stamps. I'm not sure the politics, how people are going to respond to that. I'm seeing a lot of Republicans kind of pushing the narrative that like too many people are on food stamps. And I don't know if that's a message that's actually going to resonate among people. So, but at the same time, the shutdown does seem to have improved the approval rating of Republicans amongst Republicans. So, I think Republicans are very unlikely to give in on that, and yeah, probably food stamps will be paused. And I don't know. We'll see. What does it take to convince Democrats to give in? I don't know, because I tell you right now, Trump is not gonna. No way. Trump is not going to sign that bill that they want, or whatever the deal is. Okay, so that's all of the overnight news to talk about, though. What is the end goal of all layoffs? I don't understand. To continue to experience high profits and boost the stock, and then in the hopes that you become exceptionally more efficient, so that when the time comes where we're in another growth environment, you can grow in the right places, which for them is preferably AI. But we'll see. There you go. Change my view. By the way, you guys, like the sound and everything sounds fine, right? You guys have been pretty quiet today. And I was having audio issues in there. None of you ever confirmed that it was all. Like, you can hear me, the music sounds okay, the screen looks okay. Everything looks correct in OBS. Okay. Schroed Ray says, oh, I don't know how you say that. You've been here before though, right? That's well, YouTube changed the way that the names show. So like your names all changed. And some of you old timers that come in only occasionally, you know, I don't know what your name looks like yet. Okay, but he says it sounds good. All right. Oh, and the Treasuries did recover 13.5. Should note that as well. Let's recenter there. Experienced professional can't get it. I really think like the thing is you get like unemployment and all of these sorts of things, right? The unemployment runs out. That's when you'll start to see the impact on the rest of the economy. And one of the places that I think you will see that impact is further layoffs. And another place where you'll see it is in earnings. So we'll see. Oh, GDH is Greg? Oh, okay. Yeah, I hate that the YouTube did that, but whatever. Yeah, anyways, we got a bunch of earnings like on Thursday, right? So that'll be you know, like if those earnings come out and were like all bad, then maybe the market would turn around, right? But man, Reddit, there's sure are a lot of people talking about layoffs on Reddit. You know, I was thinking the other day, like when you look at unemployment and everything, like a lot of those numbers are still relatively low. But The reality is that during the great financial crisis, I think that unemployment peaked at like 10%. Let's come in and look at that. Rates. Yeah, it peaked. It peaked at 10%. It was 15% during COVID. And I thought we were at 6 or 7%. Oh, we are at 4.3. Why was I thinking that it was closer to 6 or 7? I don't know. So it really still is, or rather, it must be still the case that the unemployment is largely among tech workers, which is why you see so much discussion about it on Reddit. But the issue is, if it spreads, it probably happens really quickly. So I still think, like, if you don't start supporting the labor market now, you have real issues. In fact, I kind of go back to, like, I remember at the beginning of the year saying, like, well, we need to, I thought that they would cut rates in, like, January, March. And then they didn't. And it was said, well, okay, like, they push things back, but, if they don't, I don't think that we can make it more than 6 months or whatever. And then we'll start to have real problems. And then we had 6 months and they didn't make rate cuts. And it was kind of like, I don't know, I guess maybe we forgot about it a little bit, but it was like, well, everything's fine. But now I'm kind of looking back and I'm like, no, I think I was right. I think I was right. We were supposed to cut interest rates back in March and we didn't. And the effects are lagged and everything. We're only seeing it now. And we're cutting rates. It might be too late. To stop it, and you might find ourselves in January, because one of the things that happens now, man, this really sucks. I hate talking about this. So yesterday I did an interview that I really, really cared about. It was so funny. I spent all this time studying about things because they were doing some Kubernetes stuff, and I've done Kubernetes, but kind of more backward-facing systems. So I studied a ton about Kubernetes. I mean, I've studied a ton in the past, but I did all my refreshers, memorized the key like components of the ecosystem and all of these sorts of things. So I guess I can go and get my Kubernetes certification now, right? I probably would only take a week or two with a study guide, and I could go and get the Kubernetes certification, right? They didn't ask me questions about any of that. It was just like, what's your experience on this? They didn't ask me any technical questions, even though I was expecting it to be more of a technical interview. And then at the end of the interview, they told me, it seemed like it went well. I think that I did as well as I could. Of course, there's always things like, you might not have as much experience in this technology, and maybe there is somebody that has experience in all of the technologies. You never know. And they said that they were still doing interviews, and that they had a trip to India for 10 days. So it's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks before I even hear back on that one. It's like, oh, it sucks, because that's the one that I really, really cared about and really, really want to get. And the thing is that after Halloween, like, it really dries up, man. It really dries up. This is what happened last time, was I got laid off. Immediately after I got laid off, I did tons and tons of interviews. And then, those ones passed me by. I guess I just wasn't competitive enough. And then nothing happened again until January. And then I didn't find something until March. So it sucks to talk about this because it's like, yeah, okay, so I have like 2 chances, I think. And if those don't follow through, which there's going to be a lot of competition. So I can't just, it used to be that, if I wanted a job, I was going to get it, right? And then I probably have to sit through the next 3 to 6 months again. Except for that this time I don't have unemployment. It's going to be hard. I'm very screwed. Let's hope that we get these jobs. But I'm not the only one, right? That's why I kind of think, yeah, it might look okay now. But some layoffs, they hold off on. They're like, well, we don't want to do this just before Christmas. So some layoffs will happen in January and February. So you come in maybe January and February, and maybe we find out how bad it really is, If they do have openings, they probably need to fill them before year end, or they lose the headcount, or need to wait until New Year Q2 once they have their budget approved. Yeah. So what happens is the jobs that are hiring right now are the ones that like they really need. It's usually a backfill, and then like new jobs or new expansions will tend to come at the beginning of the year. Yes. It's kind of interesting. It seems to me that hiring in the job market mirrors volatility in the stock market pretty well, at least in terms of seasonality. I'm not saying like if we have an increase in volatility that there'll be more hiring. I don't mean that, but like seasonally, the periods of the year where there's more business activity and there's more stock market activity also seem to coincide pretty well. Like there's a burst of activity the beginning of the year. There's kind of this period between March and May that's really active, and then things kind of quiet down for the summer, and then you get like when school starts back up, there's another increase in activity, and then after October you go into the holiday period. And I guess I would say that the stock market can be active between Thanksgiving and Christmas because, that's where a lot of companies that they make their whole year, right? But the hiring really, those never necessarily been the best trading for us in the treasuries, at least. Maybe if you're in stocks. And in the hiring market seems to go very quiet during that period. Let's see here. I didn't see Andre's comments here. Trading has just started to become more popular in Romania, and I keep seeing more and more people using ICT and selling content and smart money concepts with their YouTube accounts just booming. And literally no channel talking about market microstructure, correlations between instruments, hedging, using spreads. There has been a live event on this by people without authorization. Yeah, it's frustrating. Here in this situation that I'm in, having a YouTube channel about day trading where I've established a pretty good reputation and authority on the subject over the course of 10 years should be a really big asset. There's lots of people out there that I think are just literally living on their YouTube earnings from day trading. And it doesn't happen to us, and it's really frustrating. But we also do, I think, understand somewhat why that is the case, right? Retail traders don't want to buy things. They don't want to, pay $1,000 for a trading platform in NinjaTrader and then pay another couple $100 for indicator suites and things like that. No, what they want to do is they want to just use trading view for free and, you know, not have any indicators, just use a raw chart, right? This is why like raw chart is so popular, is because it's free, right? And then it's you know, it seems simpler to them. It's more accessible. Whereas what we're talking about is extremely foreign. We're doing it in treasuries, so that's another thing, is that they're just not interested in treasuries. There's a bunch of math involved to kind of get started understanding things, and then once you understand all of that background information, then it comes down to you have to do a lot of research and know what's going on in the market at that time, which is more than most people want to do. And so, of course, they get attracted to the ICT stuff. Yeah. And for us, how do we break out so that we can help more retail traders without, you know, impugning our integrity, without, you know, just saying, okay, fine, here's a chart pattern, use this chart pattern and it'll be great, right? No, we're still going to teach people what's going to help them the most. And with the acknowledgement that, like, you know, even if you're not successful in trading or you don't day trade at all, this information can still be really valuable to you, right? So it helps you understand the world, the way that the economy works, and will help you make better decisions in your life. But how do we get the channel to break out like that? I don't know what I got to do. So why I really think that one of the things that I could do that would be like the best business opportunity for me would be building my own trading platform. But I'm afraid that I make my own trading platform, I just end up with the same problems, you know what I mean? And you're just competing against really big companies. And you're not. It's really hard to get people's attention. I might start doing a Romanian channel myself with this info. I hate people getting clout for sharing useless information and doing bad to this industry. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I've been starting yesterday. I made a TikTok. I'm gonna try making more TikToks. One of the things that I really hate is that, like, when I'm really fishing for comments, I don't get them. So that's another thing that happens to me that I'm not sure I understand why. Is I'll go to other videos and everybody has an opinion and has a comment to share, right? And then on my videos, it should be stuff that people have a hard time understanding at first. There's lots of gaps in the knowledge that, you know, things that I can't share at all in one video. So I would expect there to be a lot of questions, and then I don't really get them. So I'm just going to keep going today with what I want to talk about. But I'm going to try giving the TikTok thing. Actually, I should pull that up really quick. I didn't look this morning how that video had done. I was getting some good likes and stuff. So, and I was getting some followers too. So I think that people did see the video. Well, 300 is pretty standard. I think it might take a little bit too of posting every day because TikTok wants the consistency, right? Did you see this thing that in China, they passed a law that if you don't have a university degree in that subject, that you'll be fined for talking about serious subjects? I think that if we made a similar law in the United States about finance and trading, I would be okay, because I have like the certifications that they would probably use to gatekeep that, right? Like you can't talk about investments unless you have a Series 65. Can't talk about commodities unless you have a Series 3, right? Well, we do have those, right? Maybe then there'd be less competition. Hey, that'd be great. There's this one person. It's funny. Yeah, 99% of YouTube trading YouTube would be gone. Absolutely would be. There's this one girl on TikTok that like her whole shtick is, I worked in the finance industry and I have all of these, and people should be listening to me and not to people, that have no experience in the industry and don't have these certifications. But then the people that do have the certifications, they're working in the industry. They can't be on social media and say anything, which is absolutely true. But just because you were in the industry doesn't necessarily mean that you will have valuable insights that are applicable to everyday people, right? Like if you're an investment advisor, then I think that there's a lot of things that you can tell people about investments that could be useful. You don't have to be giving them personal recommendations or anything. You can just give them general information, and that's great. Although I do kind of feel like I have a friend that really pushes like you need to invest in your 401k and all that sort of stuff. And it's good because there's a lot of people that don't know it, but I also think that there's kind of a ceiling on that kind of content because, there's only so much to know about it, right? But like for day traders, like what people in the industry do is so radically different from what you have to do as a day trader that there's almost no crossover. And the big issue is that the people that are in the industry are not able to understand the challenges that the day traders have, the retail traders have, to be able to take that knowledge that they have and apply it to the retail traders. That's the thing that I think I've done is I've taken that industry knowledge, the empirical data, things like the square root law of meta order impact and so forth, and I'm able to explain why it's relevant to you as a retail trader that nobody else has done. I feel like that's an innovation that should be worthy of attention, but the YouTube algorithm disagrees with me apparently. So we'll figure something out, man. What is it? Necessity is the father of innovation. But I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, so where we're at now, I was really focused on studying for that one technical interview. And if I get other technical interviews where I know they're going to be quizzing me on certain technologies, I can put more into that. But I think that now I want to focus on putting the web scraping into our volatility indicator and trying to build a machine learning model that combines what we know about order flow and that together. I think that would be a better approach. And testing it with our VPS and maybe even doing a combine with the VPS. And then in the meantime, because all of that, like I think we can get the web scraper this week. So I'll have time this afternoon. Well, all day today, really, to work on that. So that's when I'll do that. I think we'll only stream until 8 o'clock today, too, by the way. Because I got an interview at 8:30. Plus, can make sure that the kids wake up. That mom gets Asher to school on time. But then, those other things, that might take a little bit longer. So at the same time, I should be working on videos. I don't think that I ever came in and updated video topics, planned videos. I did make a video about the dollar index, didn't I? That's right, because I was really trying to promote my indicators more. I think... I think one of my issues there on selling the indicators is that I'm not getting to the audience. Like, most of my outreach on it would be here on the stream. Can show them to you. I don't necessarily mention them every day. And I think that only like a quarter to a third of you guys are even using NinjaTrader anyways. So I need to get myself into outlets that are more NinjaTrader based. But then I also believe that, you know, I got some cool things with order flow. I think those are useful if you're trying to program and test things, because you can actually back test with indicators. Like that's a crazy innovation in the NinjaTrader space. Yeah, what indicators are at? Well, if you go to Speculator Seth, you can see them all, right? I have speculatorseth.com. And then you come down in here. You go to free downloads, because you can just download and try it. Includes 2-week trial. But then there's a documentation. And this tells you all of them that are in there, right? So some of the more valuable ones, there's a synthetic dollar index. In order to get dollar index data, you have to subscribe to ICE, which we don't have. Most people don't pay for it. It's like $100 a month. But we can calculate it using the CME FX futures. So that's what that is. These ones are kind of all level 2 things, like the level 2 tape. Sometimes you will hear here on the stream like a little clicking noise, which is telling us that there was large stacking and pulling in one of our instruments. Excuse me. So there's those sorts of things. And then all of these indicators that are kind of based on the level 2 and the order flow also do caching. So they will save the data to disk and then reload that so that you can have like historical order flow stuff. And they backtest. So you can run the indicator for a month and then go in and add it to a strategy and go into the backtester and backtest strategies based on order flow. So that's what's really, really valuable about it, right? And then there's also the inventory cost basis, which essentially is a model that attempts to sort out based on the past transactions where the average prices are for market makers. And these levels have a very strong tendency to for price to bounce and do key things at. So you can see here they got to the upper cost basis and then sputtered out, and then here they came down and they pushed a little bit through the line, but they bounced. That one's actually not as good of an example as some of the other ones. This is, I think, one of the really good examples where you can see that, like, you know, there was a big move and like it went right through it. Some of these you will see, especially in the treasuries. Well, like today, this is the thing that I think is so crazy about the inventory cost basis is that it's not like a, you know, I can go and I can cherry pick examples. No, it's like it happens to the tick every day. Look at that. We had to move down. We pushed back up. And where did we come back to? To the tick, where the cost basis line was. How crazy is that? And it's not like that was like a key level anywhere else either. That's another thing. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but that was also the previous pivot or something, you know? No, there's nothing there. It went right to it. It does this every day. So that's really, really useful, especially for taking profits. So that's what we got on there. And you can come in here and I have pretty detailed documentation about all of them. But like the thing is like those are new things. You know, this is kind of a different thing when you're selling something that it's like people don't know that they need. You know. What are the things that people want? What are the indicators that like there's people out there and they're trading and they want to do this and they're like, man, I really wish that there was just an indicator that did this or that did this. And I'm not really seeing anything like that, you know, that I could add that would increase interest in it. There are some things that I don't have in the documentation that I've added as well. I need to make another release. One of them is I have a VWAP that is also backtestable. Is one. And then I also added a fair value gap indicator, which I think fair value gap is nonsense, but people look at it and use it. So I've got a fair value gap indicator that shows you the gaps until they've been closed. And it's very high performance too. So nothing else out there like it. It's way better than any of the other fair value. And it's also more backtestable. They want the indicator that they buy when it touches the line and sell when it touches the line. Yeah. Well, you can kind of do that with cost basis. I mean, I think that if anybody else other than me was selling the cost basis, that's exactly what they would tell people to do, huh? So, anyways, those are my indicators. There's also other things if you want to help. We have a Discord. I have a private Discord. I haven't really been posting. I need to do some more stuff. One thing that I do need to do, I guess I'll do that today, is I haven't posted a picture of the Bitcoin valuation in the private Discord in a bit, so I should do that today. But there's a bunch of, you know, links in the video description that help. Like, I really think if you want to day trade, you should have a new Squawk. So we have an affiliate link for the new Squawk. Have an affiliate link for Jigsaw. We've done really well with the Jigsaw thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess one of the things, though, is like I was focusing on, like, before I found the 6-month contract job, I was starting to focus more on trying to sell the indicators better. But thinking about it now at this time, I kind of think that, like, what would be the thing that would get us to, sorry, I just saw something that completely distracted me. What would get me to making real income from it, right? Because to really make like a living off of the indicators with the price that I'm charging right now, you know, I would have to sell like 20 of them a month, I think. Maybe that's not so unrealistic. Oh, no. I would need to do would need to do 50 a month, which I think might be a stretch. Right. But if the YouTube channel took off, that would do it. So that I could probably focus on that. But that's the other thing is that's what I did before, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. One guy at internet trying to sell me something that's like a sell here, but he asks for 10K, and that's a lot for something that you don't know if it works. Yeah, but you know what? Those guys do really well. That's a crazy thing. is like they'll sell their stuff for like 10K, and maybe you get like one every other month. But then if you have a month where you get two of them, and then that's a lot of money that you can put back into like paying people to promote for you, doing advertisements, things like that, right? So you just need to add NQ and do a combine and you will boom. Yeah, well, if I did a combine and I did well, then maybe, you know. Okay, so something's messed up with my market order imbalance. The numbers that it is doing make no sense. So there's still a bug in it. Imbalance, current buys, current sells, running buys. How? Recorded live, current unknown, running on what? Got some bugs here to sort out. I don't think it was doing this the other day. It's probably picking up some issue from over here, like this big thing, which is probably no, it was not. That is not when I logged in either. The market order imbalance indicator seems like it should be something that's really simple, but it is not. It is so much more complicated than I ever imagined. How is it getting not a number with the current unknown? You see that? Current unknown is a greenish color. It's got NAN. It's got running unknown is 3. Like what? How is that? It's a double. Current unknown equals 0. This one being not a number I could understand, but Well, that's a problem. Current unknown should be first. Right. Loaded, current running. Loaded, current running. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I think that could possibly explain what we're seeing. So, I clear the data out, but we won't really know if it fixed the problem until tomorrow. But let's come in and do that. By the way, this is only running like 2 days of data, right? 1 day of data. Yes. Okay. Saved. That did not fix it. Oh wait, did I not compile it? No, I compiled it. Okay, it's not that. If I come back in though, does it's not a number anymore? Still says not a number. Wait. Do that one. And there we go. I had to clear out the earlier one. Now I get clean numbers. And I think at least on market replay, I won't get any of these. Okay. But then we'll see tomorrow if it's still clean. But I think that fixed the bug. I think I fixed the bug. Okay, so back to what you guys are saying. Oh yeah, you need to add NQ into a combine mule boom. Well, some of the things that we're looking at, I think we are kind of working towards that. So I already have the brand, so how about an analysis on the trading on YouTube on what's going on, and maybe some videos about market updates and trading strategies and a lot of SEO, and maybe use some collabs. Well, I definitely need to do more collab. I definitely think, like, I do feel that the best, the most valuable stuff that I can give people is like the daily analysis, coming in and saying, okay, here are the factors that I think are going to affect people buying today, right? And especially if I were able to do that before trading, that could even be like a subscription service or something like that. But I don't know if it really makes sense. Like, I kind of feel like that the best format to do that is here with you guys during live, you know? And when I try talking about that kind of stuff on TikTok, just doesn't work. Because TikTok is not as into breaking news, you know, kind of stuff as it used to be, or as you would think. It actually likes evergreen content. It likes stuff that I can show it to you a month from now, kind of thing. So but you are right that focusing more on, you know, it's funny because we were taking some trades in the equity indexes, right? And then I kind of forgot about it. Yeah, I don't know, man. Because when I go through all of that, I think that maybe the real conclusion that I'm fighting here is that making a living from day trading content is not viable for Seth. I mean, maybe that really is just the long and short of it. And that if I've got to do something to make money from my own small business, because the economy is not going to come back and recover quickly enough for me, and I need way to get through the next 6 months, maybe it needs to be outside of trading. I'm not sure what kind of a service it is out there that people need and want. I'm certainly aware of a lot of issues, but the issues that I'm aware of are way too big for me to solve. You know, I think, well, so maybe I could potentially narrow down the solution space. I think that it would be easier to create a small business right now with a business to business solution, something that I'm selling to other small businesses. Selling direct to consumer is a lot harder. I think make unique indicators for Ninja. Well, we do have unique indicators. I don't know. Probably I would think that if I see the issue is I'm not necessarily promoting the indicators as well as I should, right? And I think that if I did really good, that we would sell like 5 to 10 a month, right? So we could make way more from the indicators, and then I could put a lot of that budget towards promotion, right? But that wouldn't be enough to live off of. I don't know if that would really move the needle. So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't spend too much time on that. Right? If the YouTube channel took off and all of a sudden we had 40,000 viewers, then that would that could potentially boost, you know, the combination of everything together probably would be enough to make up the gap. if I can figure out what I got to do, like what kind of a video I need to make that's going to be the one that goes viral, you know? Well, I could make one about AI. So that's what the whole thing that this started was pulling this up so that I could say, okay, what are the planned videos? Okay, so I actually do have. Can make a video about universal basic income. We can make a video about the vibe coding, influencer red flags. Oh, I have one about AGI and one about UBI. What's that about? Oh, this was how should we invest based on AI? I don't think that one's as strong. This one, the UBI video, I don't know if that one's strong or like it's something I want to talk about more than anything. And I do think that people are interested in content about AI and basic universal income, so we can make that one. So let's put it over here in the planned videos. UBI. Now I think this. Trader mistakes. I think that one's a good one. What was a roadmap to viable trading? Faster. Yeah, It says that I have it outlined, but it's not there. Maybe it was that one. This just kind of reminds me that, well, one, I did make a lot of the videos that I wanted to make at the beginning of the year. And two, that in a year, they're going to change the pattern day trader rule, and that futures is going to be a much smaller space. Like on here, I have futures for stock traders, but really what I need is stocks for futures traders, you know? Mm. So my current plan is make preemptive excitement videos about the... Oh, yeah, we do need to make a video about that specifically, I guess. Let's put that on here. This one... the 5 coding tips. I do have some stuff outlined for it, but I think I need to do a little bit more research because there has been a couple of studies and so forth on this stuff. And I haven't really looked at what other YouTube videos are out there about that sort of a thing. So, but so the plan right now is we're going to work on scraping for the volatility and building a machine learning model that takes these multiple factors into account and does machine learning on it and run that on the VPS. We're going to continue developing the day trading platform, and we're going to make some videos like this. So I think that should fill my time. That'll give us, and it could fill our time until March. I just don't like the plan. I don't think that any of that moves the needle. It's just like that's the best I've got. And I feel like that there's something else that I can be doing that I'm not thinking of that's just that would do it, you know? So let's see here. Did I miss any Oh, I did. Offrey, I wanted an MBO indicator for Ninja and started building one, but it needs its own feed. So there's these guys in Ukraine that are selling this thing that claims to be MBO for NinjaTrader. And every time that, and they wanted me to promote it and stuff. And I keep asking them, okay, but how do you get the data? How are you doing it? And they won't say. So I think that what's happening is they're paying a regular, you know, like Rhythmic or whatever for MBO stuff. And then they're redistributing it illegally. And they have built their own thing into it to basically make their own data through kind of a backdoor of sorts in NinjaTrader. I think that that's what they're doing. So I've stayed away from it, but supposedly it does exist. There are some weird things like with the what is it, the NASDAQ market depth data that you can get from DX feed. That's like you install their thing and a new data type shows up in NinjaTrader. So NinjaTrader is extensible enough that you can create your own pipe like that, and potentially maybe even one that does MBO. But I think you have to ask Ninja Trader how to do it. How to trade crypto with Ninja? Can I get volume data? Okay, so crypto is a slightly different issue, because the issue with crypto is that the volume in the cryptocurrency market is so bifurcated, right? Basically, you have to do something where you have a connection to multiple different exchanges, and then it's aggregating all of the order flow data together. So that's what you would be doing in cryptocurrencies. Trace will show. Well, I don't know if I can remember the guy's name. And it's been too long. I probably don't remember. No. Yeah, I'm not sure how I would find it to tell you what the name of it was. Was it? I think it was bestorderflow.com, actually. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was. So there's something sketchy about it, but their whole YouTube is sketch. Well, very interesting. We've had a cross back across the range, but it's still been a very tight range. So probably, you know, I'm spending all this time thinking about it, but probably it doesn't matter. 3 weeks from now, that job that I really want will come back and they'll say that I was the best one and we'll get the job. That's what's going to happen. It has to. It's going to happen because it has to happen. Okay, so you know what's something that I have an issue with this one? I can remember a couple of jobs or interviews that I thought were absolutely terrible. Like, they would put like, here are the skills that we are looking for on the job, and then you'd go into an interview and they'd ask you about completely different stuff. They'd have some esoteric technology that I'd never heard of before, and they would ask super detailed questions about them, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't think I'm the right person for this, right? I also had ones where I felt like that they were so like there was this one where they were primarily looking for people that had experience with Amazon Web Services and AWS, and they asked the most bizarre questions about AWS. Like, they were all really detailed technical questions about services that most people don't use very much. Things that I kind of felt like, if you're using AWS in this way, there's something wrong with the way that you're doing it. And I kind of wondered if it was one of those things where it's like they're trying to they have somebody that they want to get the job, and so they're giving everybody else harder questions to wash them out. You know what I mean? The best thing in interviews is when they ask a wild question that you only know the answer for because you really love the subject. So yesterday they asked me about what text editor I use, and so I had to explain what Helix was to them. That was kind of fun. I think they liked that. Anyways, but where I was going with all of that. So I can remember the questions and things like that, but I can't remember anything about the interviewer, like what they looked like or anything like that. And it's often the case, I come in and, you meet somebody and that that you've never met them before, but there's just something familiar about it, And for a lot of these jobs where like the interview was like that, it really felt like that. Like, and maybe it just means that there was just not much of a connection with that interviewer, but like I don't remember anything about them or what they look like or anything like that, right? But with this one that I want, like all of the people seem really familiar to me. I can remember what they look like and what their personalities were like and everything like that. Like I can envision it. Everything like in my mind's eye working there, I can visualize it very concretely. Whereas many of the other jobs that I interviewed for, I couldn't. So it bothers me just because it's like, I think that means that I genuinely really want that job specifically. But I know that there's maybe a 1 in 5 chance that I get it because there's probably 5 other people interviewing, right? And I feel really good about myself. Like I do not have, I think, some of the same mental issues that I think some people in the job market are having, like feelings of worthlessness and things like that. Like I understand where things are at and what is the market and what is me. And I don't have any problem with understanding that because you're on the job market doesn't mean that you don't have value. And I think that I'm totally worth it spending, the big salary that tech is and all of that, and that I deserve it. It's just I also know that the market is hard and there's other people going for it. And one of those other people might have been like have all of the same experience as me, except for that they did it all at Google. Then you're probably going to go with that guy, right? So I hate it because it's like I feel myself getting attached to it, but it's not a done deal. It's tough because I thought I did the interview. Like the thing is that there's usually like they'll pick somebody and then like they'll filter things down by round, right? So I kind of thought that coming in on site and everything was going to be one where like that means that they're like in the final stages. And so that like I thought I would be finding out later this week. So it was very crushing to me to find out that they thought that it was going to be multiple weeks. hate second guessing the vibe. Yeah, part of the reason that I like this one, I don't really, I probably shouldn't go into too much detail, but it's just it's a company that very much cares about like the employees and making the best working environment, and you know, like that's kind of their thing. So I think that that's one of the main reasons why I really want to work there. I just like I ultimately I want to do my best work. Like the thing that I hate the most about being unemployed right now is having to watch the kids and not be able to just go down and focus on the coding task, or, you know, looking at what I have to do and not being entirely sure what should be the thing that would be the most effective to work on. I want to be able to, you know, when I was at the contract job, I always knew exactly what was the next thing that I wanted to do, and I could just focus and work, you know. So I did some really good work. I don't think that they had need for the most advanced stuff that I can do. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it was my most excellent work, but it was still excellent work, you know. And this one, I feel like that they have everything, the need, the competent. You have to have somebody that needs those skills. You have to have an organization that's competent enough to make use of it. You have to have the right role and everything else, the right work environment and everything for you to be able to actually achieve that absolute best, most excellent work that you can do. And I think that they have that, you know. Is that instead of high pay? No, I mean, their pay is, I would say, pretty much in line with what everybody else is. This is the other thing that's really frustrating, is like, it does seem like pretty much everybody in the industry, I don't know if it's, when I say it's like frustrating or whatever, the contract job that I did, they gave me an offer, but it was like 40% below the market. And everybody, I'm interviewing in late stages for 2 jobs right now that are right at where I would expect the pay for this role to be. So that's confirming. But, geez, I don't know. That whole situation, I don't think it was their fault necessarily. I think that part of what happened with that one is that the company that I contracted through, if I got hired on full time, they would have to give them a finder's fee, and the finder's fee would be too high, and that's why they couldn't pay what the role actually was worth. So I don't think it was necessarily anybody's fault, but still the whole situation just makes me feel sour. It's not like I wasn't looking for other jobs during that whole time, but I only interviewed for like 2 other jobs during that time. So maybe I should have tried harder. I don't know. Sucks. Anyways, it's time for me to get going, guys. So, hate to end on a downer. I don't know if I'll be here. I think I should be here for the Fed meeting, but I'm not sure. I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you. So, I might not see you until tomorrow. All right? In the meantime, stay excellent, team.